to the closing session of this extraordinary symposium. I really regret that we're not all in a room somewhere in Africa and going out for a lovely meal afterwards, but we'll have to have our lovely meals wherever we are in the world. So we've covered a lot of ground. Yes, it's been a year of thinking about a pandemic, but the environmental problems that we were hoping to solve last year haven't gone away. And in fact, in some cases, they've got worse. I'm concerned that we're all consuming so much online now that the power consumption by all the servers that provide this is a major new energy demand that we're putting on our planet. Although I understand that the more advanced companies are looking to generate the power with renewable energy. I've heard of people talking about companies in Iceland using geothermal energy to power their servers so that they are zero carbon, offer zero carbon computer services. Much has been discussed, and we have a few minutes to just chew the fat at the moment, just with me and Adey. Adey, what were your hopes for today, and have they been realized?
Oh, for the whole conference,
Sure.
exceeded my expectation. I'm going to be honest, I'm exhausted, and I know the team in South Africa is also exhausted. But it was amazing. Like these are all amazing people with so many great ideas, and I feel honored that they, respected this enough to come and do their share their information. Would love to do this again live, like you said. It started in person, no, not live, in person event. It's two differences, right? So I would like to do this again. Hopefully, when COVID is a little bit more managed, hopefully do it at the UN and have people come in person. Yes, definitely exceeded my expectation, and I don't know what else. And thank you so much. You've been, I know you must be exhausted also.
It's been a long day, but a fascinating day and very stimulating because the people who we've been hearing from are not all conservation biologists who spend their time in forests. They're people from all walks of life who have become conservationists. And I describe myself as a naturalist by birth, a biologist by training, and a conservationist by necessity. A reluctant conservationist. I'd rather not be doing conservation work because it shouldn't be necessary. We should be living in a way that enables the biosphere to continue and thrive, and we to thrive as a part of the biosphere, rather than this outmoded idea that we're separate from it, that Ralph Shami so eloquently put to us in his presentation. I'm conscious that some people in such a long day of activities may have missed some of the presentations. So can you explain where people who have just tuned in or who missed some of the sessions can find the recordings?
So it's all there recorded on the platform itself, so they can pick which one. I believe it's a drop down, and they could just watch it. For the next. I believe this platform will be open for a while, about 45 days. So they can access it and watch it, and then we'll also think about after that ways to share this content, because I see it's very important stuff that has been covered, and most people should have access to it. The other thing I know, Dr. Cosma Wilungula from the ICCN was supposed to be here to kind of talk about the Virunga and others rangers who died or who were killed this year and also last year, to kind of commemorate, because this is basically what we did last year. Also, we remembered, we talked about two conservationists that don't get talked about a lot, but who contributed a lot to this world. And those were Hezi Shoshani, which I've seen. Apparently, you know him very well.
Hezi was a dear friend.
Yes. So him and Michael Warike, the Kenyan man. So we commemorated them last year, and I want to continue the tradition of remembering people who contributed a lot to conservation, to animals and people, and so that their work is not forgotten, and to just remember them. And this year we were thinking of talking about the rangers in Virunga, and it's not just the rangers; quite a few people were killed this year.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't have the list of people, but I do know I'm a trustee of a charity called the Thin Green Line, which supports rangers with training and equipment and tries to reduce the chances of them being killed in the line of duty. But when they are killed, we have a way of supporting the widows and orphans of rangers who are killed in the line of duty. And sadly, every year there's more than 100, and you find their names published in a roll of honour on the Thin Green Line website. And I know that the Virunga Park itself has a Fallen Rangers fund, which Thin Green Line has contributed to. So it is essential, not only for the families of those who are killed, but for the morale, esprit de corps of the people who go out each day and face potential death because of these organized criminal gangs, or in some instances, terrorist groups. And sometimes it's the same thing, because the terrorists buy their arms using the proceeds of illegal wildlife trade. And I would actually say that goes beyond just the usual things you think about when you think about wildlife. People think about wildlife and they're focusing on elephants and tigers and, well, not tigers in Africa, but elephants and big cats and rhinos, the trade in whose products, dismembered body parts, is frequently going into organized criminal gangs, and sometimes going to buy arms and to fund insurgent groups and militias. So that's a terrible consequence. But another aspect of the illegal wildlife trade, which you may not even think about in terms of wildlife, is charcoal. It's estimated that the Al-Shabaab terrorist group makes millions every year out of illegal charcoal trade. And for the families who live in the bush, who don't have access to money, the fact that somebody will drive by once a week and pick up a bag of charcoal means that they have access to money. So they're cutting every tree that they can reach, every bush, and making a charcoal kiln and selling it. And the people in the cities that can't afford electricity, or there is no reliable electricity supply, and can't afford bottles of gas to cook their food, of course they're going to cook on charcoal. So charcoal is a multi-million-dollar wildlife industry, much of which is illegal and most of which is unsustainable. And that suggests that it's going far beyond the killing of individual animals. It's turning their habitat into a product which our current way of living, bear in mind that more than half of the world's approaching 8 billion people live in cities. And if those cities don't have renewable energy supplies, then they're dependent on fossil fuels. And people might say, well, charcoal is a renewable energy, which of course it is, because it's today's carbon cycle. It's not the fossil carbon cycle. But if it's being supplied by poverty-stricken people living in villages, with being exploited essentially to destroy the woody vegetation of where they live, to provide fuel for a family in the city that hasn't got any other option to cook their food, it's not going to last. Mm-hmm. The problem is just being kicked down the road, and we have to get to grips with that. So wildlife includes animals and plants, and when we talk about plants, we're talking about charcoal and not just timber and valuable hardwoods. And the need to control the exploitation of all those resources is imperative, and much of it has to be through bringing poverty-stricken communities' standard of living up. And if their surrounding habitat plays a role in, for example, carbon sequestration, why aren't those communities being paid to protect those trees more than they're being paid to cut them down and turn them into charcoal or hardwood products that go around the world as It's timber. These are huge issues that obviously we can't solve today. But what has been inspiring today is how many new ideas, some of which I vaguely knew about, some of which I didn't know about, have been put forward to the audience. And the invitation at the end for, well, any members of the audience that can help any of these projects, please get in touch. That way, together, I think we can solve these problems.
We definitely can. And I also wanted to bring one last thing, which by itself we could do a whole day conference on. And it's the issue of social media and the role it plays in conservation, whether it's hindering it or advancing it. It's been something that's been really on my mind a lot, and every time I see things that I think are inappropriate online, I get very upset about it, but there's no way to fight back, because I don't think people realize how much power they have when they just click like on a picture, and what the effects are. So I kind of wanted to just put it out there, the fact that, everyone, conservationists are different types of people. Like Tim earlier said, the definition of conservationist has expanded, but it will also include those who are doing bad, and social media influencers calling themselves conservationists and making millions doing that. And yes, I will name names. The Tiger King is one that really upsets me. People don't realize when they like that hashtag, or when they follow that, how they're making it famous, but it's doing nothing for the tigers or any,
No, it is very disturbing, the trends that you see in social media. But I'm very glad you mentioned that, because as you said in my introduction, however many hours ago that was, I chair a coalition of NGOs called the Ape Alliance, and our coordinator, Iona Haynes, has just started a campaign to educate social media users, because one of the problems, particularly with primates, is that they're so cute as babies, and that means that they are potentially worth money. Because if you've got a cute baby primate, then you can put it onto tourists on a beach and charge them $10 to have the picture taken. And they use that picture on their social media as their profile picture. And they say they're doing it because they're an animal lover, not realizing that in paying someone to have a selfie taken with an animal, you're actually paying someone else to go out into a forest to kill another mother primate to capture the baby, or a big cat or any other wild animal that has a cute baby. Those babies are just merchandise, and they are abused, and the drain on the wild population is such that they will disappear, so that someone can make a few dollars, and that someone else can have what they think is a cool profile picture. So Iona came up with the hashtag cruel not cute. Mm-hmm. And you can find out more about that on the Ape Alliance website, which is at 4 as a number, apes, 4apes.com. And we invite people to use that hashtag and others. And if you see particularly influencers, people who should know better, posing with exotic animals in who knows where, and for them it doesn't matter where. It's just a passing photograph. That's the photograph that gets shared, and that drives the demand for pet animals and for props which are exploited, often in a very cruel and unpleasant way, over sometimes many years and decades, if the exploiter can keep them alive. And there are places in Thailand where animals are used to take what are deemed to be cute photographs. Not just Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, anywhere where there's a collection of tourists. It used to be a problem on Spanish beaches that chimpanzee infants were kidnapped from their mothers in Africa after killing the mother, taken up the coast of Africa to Spain, and then people would walk along the beach with the baby chim and make money from selling photographs opportunities with this baby chim. And that was clamped down on, thank goodness. And organizations like the International Primate Protection League are fighting that sort of abuse of primates all over the world. and anyone watching this can join in with this sort of thing by looking at the organization, ippl.org, or the Ape Alliance campaign. And the more people who share, the more positive pressure we can use social media for, rather than letting this negative pressure, which is based on ignorance.
Right.
People don't know that by liking a cute picture of someone with a baby primate on the shoulder, they're potentially encouraging the killing and kidnapping of other primates. But the best cure for ignorance is knowledge. And that's what social media is really good at, disseminating knowledge. So let's fight back with positive information.
Thank you, Ian. And another one is suffering for selfies that I've been seeing around.
Yes, and I think the Born Free Foundation had one, selfish selfies, as a hashtag, selfish selfish. But if you see someone using a photo of an abused animal, i.e. wearing clothes or out of its natural habitat, then that's the sort of response you can put in. Cruel, not cute, selfish selfies, etc., etc.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, well, shall we call it a wrap?
I think so.
I'd certainly like to thank all the speakers that I had the pleasure of introducing, ministers, ambassadors, doctors, professors, and economists. Isn't that funny? I would never expect myself to be introducing economists to a conservation symposium, but as we were saying earlier, not only does nature have to stop being an economic externality, but we need to internalize nature and internalize the cost of protecting nature to our global economy, but we have to do it ourselves. So conservation isn't just a career you go out and choose to do, it's what you choose to do, whatever your career is. And I hope that message has come out today, because many people from many different walks of life are playing a critical role in conservation. And as this is the first year of the UN Year of Ecosystem Restoration, and it's the super year for nature carried over from last year, we all have a part to play. So if you've been watching this all day, thank you. You can go and have a cup of tea now. And if you didn't watch it all day, then Adey will be posting the videos and you can catch up later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, the whole team.